Oh, right. I'm Bev Cassidy-Mackenzie. I'm the Chief Executive of Diversity Works New Zealand. So we've been around for about 25 years. We used to be known as the Equal Employment Opportunities Trust. Yes, I did like the idea of having equality as the topic tonight, but I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to take us on a bit of a journey, and I'm going to take us past equality and over to equity. So hold on to your drinks, but I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So Diversity Works, been around for about 25 years. We used to be the Equal Employment Opportunities Trust. So the conversation very much was around equality, very much around equal employment, very much around gender and getting women on boards, and had been for about 20 odd years. And a couple of years ago, probably a few more than that, we moved. New Zealand moved on a bit of a evolving sea change along with the rest of the world. We moved into a space of diversity, a space of inclusion, and that was a space where we started to have conversations about inclusion, and inclusion was where we started to have conversations about sexual orientation in the workplace, conversations about religion, conversations about age, about our ageing workforce, and the fact that we are second behind Japan and the OECD, the fact that younger people are transitioning into the workforce for the very first time, a whole lot of things. And when we did that, we evolved with that and became the Diversity Works New Zealand, because we needed to move with that. I think this is probably the all-encompassing reason for that, and that is the fact that New Zealand businesses, if they do not get on board with diversity inclusion, are very much in a competitive space, so needed to. Part of that is the fact that diversity and inclusion helps businesses to better understand what's going on, happily integrate them, and then have some better outcomes. But the reality for us is helping business be better by diversity. Pretty simple, really. Okay, so like I said, we're going to rip through some of these now in just under 5 minutes. I'm going to talk to you about the context of diversity, the importance of difference. I'm going to move us from equality to equity, and I'm going to very quickly touch on unconscious bias. So here we go. Hold on to your drinks. Okay, in terms of context for diversity, if New Zealand was a village of 100 people, 51 of us would be female, 49 of us would be males. The average age would be 38. Now that in itself is pretty phenomenal, because that has moved 10 years just in the past couple of decades. The number of us still working at 65 has doubled in the past decade. So we are ageing quickly. Here come the baby boomers. 14 of us would be Māori, 11 of us would be Asian, and 7 of us would be Pacifica. A quarter of us would have been born overseas if our village was Auckland. 213 different ethnicities in New Zealand at the moment. 186 of those reside in Auckland alone. 79 of us would have a qualification. Would not have a qualification. 79 out of that 100. And this one I found quite interesting, because, and I thought those little images down the bottom would be quite significant, 3 men and 1 woman, remember we're talking about equality, 3 men and 1 woman would earn over $100,000. Remember we're talking about equality here. I'm not sure that that's got anything to do with equality. And I found the other image up the top really I just had to throw that in, because what that image says is that men and women are equal. Clearly that stat's a little bit, in the face, so I had to put that there. The other thing I said I was going to talk about is difference. Difference requires businesses in particular, but particularly you, to be able to bring your whole self to work. Now, we could focus on gender and focus on women, but I want to talk about whole self. Enabling you to bring your whole self to work. If we looked at this woman, we could say, she's a mum, but particularly she's a woman, she brings her whole self to work. She may have 1 child, she may have many. In order to bring her whole self to work or into a workplace, That little guy just wants the ability to be able to share a day with her. So time is really of the essence for him to be able to share the day. She could be a sister, maybe a sister-in-law to family as well. And the reason why that's important is because she's going to share looking after that son or children with other parts of the family, which is going to mean she only needs to take 2 annual leave days every 2 weeks of a school holidays, not 10. So that's why being a sister or knowing that she's a sister or sister-in-law is very important. The other thing she may be is she may be a daughter. She may be a daughter to an ageing parent that has caring needs. So understanding that she has an ageing parent is really important to understand that she's bringing that whole self to work. The other thing that she may be is she may be an auntie. She may be an auntie to some nieces and nephews that may need some respite from the environment that they're living in. It may be one of poverty, it may be one of family violence, or it may just be one of adolescent angst. We don't know. She also probably plays some kind of sport, maybe a bit of netball on the weekend, but either way, that 1 hour of practice on a Thursday night is her respite herself. It's a place that she goes to have a good old laugh with the girls. And in the weekend to let out all the animal and feist from her hard week at work and to have some fun with friends. And the very last piece that she has in her probably is spent on her partner, her husband, whoever it might be, that she gives the last piece of whatever she's got left in her. To allow herself some respite herself. Now, understanding that that is who she is and allowing that whole person to come to work is what difference is what inclusivity is, and that inclusiveness is the most important thing that we need to understand. So unless everybody in this room is bringing that whole self, whatever that whole self is, that is inclusivity. You need to be able to bring that whole self to work every day, and employers need to understand that's what we do. We go in and help organisations to understand that. We said we were talking about equality today, and I just wanted to show you what that means. That means a level playing field, but as you can see from this image, a level playing field does not necessarily mean that we're all in the same space, because I just told you what inclusiveness was. I just told you what difference was, and level playing field's not going to give you that. What we want to get to is we want to get to equity. Equity recognises that we are all not the same. So it's not a level playing field that we want equity. Okay, and the very last thing, since I've just gone over it, I'm going to get in trouble, I'm sure. But I'm just going to say, I'm going to steal her 30 seconds and her 20 seconds that she was over. How do you see the world? How you see the world is one of the things that can be a barrier to getting us equality. And the reason for that is the way that you see the world is because difference makes us feel under threat. When we feel under threat, we make instant decisions that may not be the best ones. And the reason for this is because we all have bias. We all have bias, and when we bring that bias to our discussions, to our decision making, we can make some not good decisions. So I'm going to ask you to have a think about what those decisions are and the reason why. We receive 11 million bits of information every moment. We can only consciously process 40 bits. So if that's the case and you're making all these immediate decisions, remembering we're bringing our whole self, we're understanding what difference is, we can't get to that space. So I'm going to ask you to have a think about what that means for you in terms of bias. Remember, we've all got it. And remember, there's a difference between unconscious and conscious bias, and it can have an impact. I'm going to leave it there. I've swamped you with information. Thanks so much.